Well, hello everybody. It's great to see you all showing up for the CSE 125 final project presentations, the game presentations. The students have put in a tremendous amount of hard work and time on their demos, and it's great to be able to show it off to so many people. Before we do the demos, you guys are going to have to put up with having to listen to me for a little bit. So I apologize. But what I want to do is for those people who aren't so familiar with the course, I just want to give a little overview and introduction about how the course works and what the students went through during the quarter. So the course is very unusual compared to other computer science courses. It's a non-traditional course. There's just one project. It's very self-motivated. The way I teach the course is I try to get out of the way as much as possible. It's targeted to graduating seniors who have taken almost all of their classes, and this is their last quarter, sort of on their way out. The students work in very large groups, 5, 6, sometimes 7 people, and that requires a fair amount of coordination, collaboration, and a bit of compromise as well. And it's a high bar. The project is really challenging, and it's tough to pull off. And at the same time, while they're doing this, I would like them to have fun. And I'm sure that 1 or 2 weeks from now, they'll look back and they'll think about all the fun they had this quarter. So from an instructor's point of view, the course is really, really simple to teach and organize. There's just one assignment, implement a distributed real-time multiplayer 3D game. I hand it out on day 1. It's due right now. And then I wish them luck and we see what happens. But the project is a game, but it's easy to forget that games are very, very challenging systems and applications to build. So from my perspective, with my background in distributed systems and networking, the project is actually a large, complex software system. Many challenges. It's distributed, real-time, it's complex with the graphics and multi-threaded and sound and animation, all this stuff going on at the same time. And it just happens to be a fun type of project to do, but also very, very challenging at the same time. And this is a course that I wish I could have taken in college. They didn't have anything like this. So the next best thing, teach it. And do it vicariously. As you see the demos that the students have, one thing I want you to keep in mind is that everything that you're seeing the students have done. They're the ones that have made their projects and this entire course successful. The project ideas are entirely their own. They solved all of the hard problems that they ran into, most of them at least. And the projects that you're going to see really, this statement, I really, really believe it, that it reflects the outstanding independence, initiative, and problem-solving skills and abilities of the students in the class. It's really, really impressive to see the students as they develop through the quarter. And I like to think of it as the culmination of the computer science curriculum here, that I'd like to think that they learned something from the courses they took, and then this is their opportunity to apply it. And it's just, every year, it's just incredibly impressive to watch the process over a course of 10 weeks. So every year brings its own personality to the course. Students are new every year, and they always bring a certain twist to what happens during the quarter. And this year, what was particularly interesting, and definitely a hallmark of the year, is that usually, in the past, everybody's implemented their game in C++. And this year we had 3 teams who wanted to do something a little bit different. So we had one group, and they'll self-identify when they go and do the demo. We had one group went and did C#. And what they liked about it was that in the development environment, they just had to type a few characters, and then C# would just, Visual Studio would just auto-complete the rest of their code. So they basically auto-completed their game. Another group, they wanted to be a little bit more challenging and different, and they did their game in Python, which I was really excited about because nobody has even attempted a scripting language for doing a game in this course, in this style. I'll let them talk about their experiences. And then finally, which a project I just love, is one group implemented their entire game in Lisp. And one of the things I want to do at the end when they do their final reports is have them write up, what they did and then how many lines of code they had to write and see how it correlates to the language. And then for the Lisp guys, in addition to lines of codes, I want them to count the number of parentheses. And another thing that this year had a nice bit of was sort of personalization of the class. So we work inside of a lab in the basement that's dedicated to the course. And sometimes other people try to get in, and so people put up signs saying that this is for 125 only. So we have all these nice decorations on the door inviting people to come into the lab. And I want you to notice the no food in lab sign. So we start out, actually ACMS brought in some more recent machines so that we had some more powerful hardware to do some of the games. That's all great. And then immediately, comes the cooler and the donuts. And then for setting up for the demo, we're preparing for the demo, I have another room where I set up all the demo machines so that people can stage their games while they're working on them and making sure that the software actually runs on the games that we're going to demo on. Soon after I set up the room, there's a couch. I have no idea where it came from, but it was well used. And then, we go through this. My goal is always to try to get better and better hardware in the lab so that students can try to push the limits of the games that they implement, even within 10 weeks. But then we had one interesting student, and actually a guy on the Python team, who went completely the other direction. And he'd like to implement on his netbook. Maybe I should just bring in netbooks for the lab. I don't know. Okay, so there is what I think of as a very magical thing that happens during the quarter. It's usually towards the end, around the 8th week, sometimes the 9th week, sometimes the last day, where the students have been working on their games, and it all starts from scratch. It all starts with ideas that they write down on paper about what they're imagining the game is going to be like. And then in a short amount of time, it just seems like in the span of just a couple of weeks, from the sketches, they have something really amazing working that you're going to see shortly. And it's just an incredible thing to witness, how quickly it all comes together at the end. And then finally, for those who have been to many of these demos, traditionally I have to fly off somewhere during the middle of the quarter. This year I flew off to Shanghai. I had to do it to uphold tradition. All right. Before we segue to the demos, I just want to acknowledge a bunch of people who have helped make the course possible and the demos possible. Joe Lunsford is the guy who configured all the machines in the lab and kept them configured, and it's just a full-time job for a few weeks getting that stuff all up and running. And then Steve, Glenn, and Faraday with the hardware for the demo machines and for taping the demos. Mark Kinsey is the one who helped us actually with this room. And what I like to try to do every year is have folks from the games industry come and give invited talks to the class, talking about what it's like to be in the games industry and the careers that they've had, and, how to break in, things like that. And this year I had two speakers, Pani Haritados and Albert Lau. And what's great is that these are all alums from the course from previous years who've gone off and done some amazing things. And then finally, Jennifer Folkstad, who helped do all of the legwork trying to find our room for us at the last minute. And then a special thanks to Andrew, who was the TA for the course and took the course last year. Thank you very much, Andrew. When the students had tough questions, he's the one who answered them. I said, go talk to Andrew, I don't know. And then one last final, so we have the demos, and the way this is going to work, we have 5 groups. We're just going to go through all 5 in order. And roughly speaking, each group is going to introduce itself, talk about the concept of the game that they designed and implemented, sort of what they were thinking and what kind of experience they wanted to have and background themes and things like that. And then we'll do a demo. And the games are 4-player games. And so we're going to have 2 group members sort of be participants. And then they're going to invite 2 audience members to come down and participate in the games as well. So they can't cheat. Has to work. Okay. And then before we transition, I just want to do a final advertisement for the Jacob School of Rock, which is going to happen in Porter's Pub at 6 o'clock to midnight the rest of today. So you can go from games to rock and maybe some beer as well. Okay, now we're going to transition to starting the demos.